So it is time to take a look at the Caldari Lance Dreadnought, the Karura. Honestly, I love the name of this thing, and I have to admit, this might very well be my favorite Lance Dreadnought design. This thing looks hot, and I'm not even joking. They did a beautiful job at making this thing look exactly like the EVE Online's Karura, and this is a very good looking Lancer Dreadnought. Also, the first Lancer that got killed is a Karura, by the way. It happened like 2 hours before I recorded this, so yeah. Now let's take a look at the stats of this thing. The stats should be quite interesting. The Karura has about the same rolls as the previous Lancers, although this thing is very similar to the Hubris in terms of it can use two weapon types. It uses missiles and it also uses railguns. And it has respective bonuses on both, which is honestly good. If you have railguns, then you can use this thing. If you have missiles, you can also use this thing as well. And of course, the signature, it has extra shield resistance and shield volume. Now this might very well be one of the tankiest when it comes to shield tanking, and might be, I believe, potentially be the second tankiest or the third tankiest shield tank ship in the game at the moment. We'll have to see what type of stats I can get with the shield on this thing. Should be interesting. After all, Caldari ships, Caldari capitals recently have been quite a topic when it comes to shield tanking. Now I have the barreled missile launchers. They're doing a good job. Although again, if you have railguns, you can use railguns. If you have other missiles, you can use other missiles. Capital missiles will work. Everything that's capital related will simply work really well as long as it's railguns and of course missiles. This is the Peregrine Kinetic Annihilator, which for some reason does thermal damage, but it's a bit bugged, so we can ignore the weirdness, because honestly it's still bugged and still can't use siege, still can't activate Doomsday, at least in my case here, so have to wait. And I'll show you some of the tank builds on this thing today, and then you can quickly take a look at the Doomsday stats as well. I have a Scrambler and Quad Webs. You can use Grapplers if you like, also a valid option. 3 extenders, 3 adaptives, a reactive and a damage control. Usually what I do, but today I want to do a specific build for this thing, and I will revolve the tank on this in a more passive way today. Even the rigs are full on resistance, and the reason for this is I really want to see how much hit points I can get and how many resistance can I get out of the shield. Since it has a 2400 seconds shield recharge, so technically it should be able to hold a lot of damage at about 30 at peak recharge. It should be tanking a lot. And I will test that out in depth when the ship actually works, since I also want to compare the active and passive tank on this thing. And at the moment, without the siege mode working, you can't really do a active tank properly, because it's going to miss that siege bonus on boost. Basically, with the siege mode active, it boosts a lot more shields, and it also does have a much faster cycle time. But let's take a look at the active resistance values on this thing. I believe that we might see some crazy numbers on this ship. Now it has 3 extenders, which, if you do have the generators on this thing, then the shield can easily go over 3, 4, 5 million. And this thing with the capital shield generators is potentially able to have as many hit points as a Wyvern on shield, and potentially might be able to tank more DPS than the Wyvern because it has a faster shield recharge than the Wyvern. The Wyvern has 3.6 thousand, this has 2.4 thousand, a very big difference. If, of course, it manages to somehow have the same shield volume as the Wyvern. 53 million hit points, 80 million hit points without a damage control, not bad. Can definitely get the shield resistance up more if I go and slap a bit more adaptives, which is what I am about to do. Now, this is a passive tank, and with generators would be very evil, although the capital shield generators don't exist at the moment. I believe they don't exist. So I will be doing the other build here with adaptives. 4 adaptives, no, 5 adaptives is overkill. 4 adaptives is basically like the limit. 1 reactive and then a damage control. And you know, you can use boosters, which I'll be putting on this ship in a moment, but for now focusing on the passive part a bit more. And yes, these ships can tank super capitals with ease. The Karura that got wrecked had a glass build. It is funny because every single capital ship that gets killed, every single one of them, has a DPS build or a battery build. I rarely see chunky brick tanks die when it comes to all the capitals that I see being destroyed. 99% is usually not a tanky that gets blown up. Tanky dreadnoughts are tough, and even a super capital will have a very hard time to go through the tank on all these ships. No, I'll be testing that out as I usually do. I'm just waiting for these ships to work properly before I do that, since I want their peak performance shown, and that's what I'm going to do when they work. 18.2 million, a bit better resistances, but a bit, actually, you know what? There is very little difference in the total hit points, and I actually prefer more. No, it depends, honestly. I prefer more resistance over shield hit points, but for a good passive tank, you need to have more shield. So a balance between resistance and shield hit and overall shield hit points is kind of the, I would say, the sweet spot, the sweet line for the ships. And you can do the same thing with Wyvern, although the Wyvern does also have that cover module, and you know the Wyvern has its own thing. These ships don't have any special modules yet, although there's a good chance that down the road we might get some special modules for these ships. Maybe they do get something very similar to the cover module on the super carriers. If that's the case, then that's going to be a game changer when it comes to the tank. If they do get that, oh man, will these things be insane. And honestly, if they do that, I will probably have no complaints, since these things would be a very good counter to some of the ships that we have in the game at the moment. And this is basically how it would look like with a active tank build. Well, more or less, I guess. More batteries, the better in some cases, but in some other cases, more adaptives better. It depends on what you are expecting to encounter. If you expect super capitals, the more adaptives, the better. If you expect normal sub capital or capital fleet, then battery is definitely going to be the way to go, since with more batteries you have a better capacitor and you can keep running the boosters for a very, very long time. With one battery, the main problem with one battery build that I use is the capacitor. It is designed not to use a lot of capacitor to begin with, since you have a lot of resistance, which means that you are not going to take much damage, and in return it means that you are not going to be running the repairs that long. With batteries, you can keep the boosters or armor repairs running for as long as you want, but you will take more damage, since you will have overall less resistance. And there is no better option. One build works for one situation, the other build works for some other situations, and the goal is to use the right build in the right situation. If you use the better build versus a super capital, GG, you're probably gonna get destroyed unless you have the Energizer module, which I actually am starting to align myself towards having the cover module over the classic damage control, because these ships are kind of big juicy targets, and the Energizer damage control, you have a bonus on it, you might as well use it, and it's an expensive ship, might as well just sacrifice a module instead of sacrificing a ship. So the new damage control is definitely what I would say you should use over the normal damage control on these ships. A panic button, but a worthy panic button, since you can make this ship practically immortal for 150 seconds, which is close to 3 minutes. 3 minutes would be 180 seconds. This is like 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 30 seconds or something. So you do get a very long immortality timer, more than enough time to actually open a sign and save the ship, if you can, of course, save the ship. My advice would be to avoid yeeting these ships until, it's just my advice. If you want to yeet these things, go ahead and yeet. Your ship, your risk, your wallet. I'm just saying, my recommendation is to fly these ships carefully, and not to run around and expect to be immortal. You probably aren't immortal. No ship is immortal. Given enough time, given enough DPS, every ship cracks. So best to fly these ships in fleets, in groups. After all, that's how they're meant to be used. Solo eating a Dreadnought, I was never a fan of that. Maybe it could be fun if their price is cheaper, but at the moment, nope. I wouldn't be eating something like this, because it's just a big juicy kill and everyone wants to have a piece of it. So yeah. So I said I'll use the Energizer, and I'll do that in a moment. No, the Energizer does give you a more passive resistance, like 15%. And honestly, I can get behind that. It's a decent little bonus on extra tank, I guess. And in a lot of cases, actually, you will have more, I guess, use of the passive damage control than the active one. Although, with the other classic damage control, you can use it actively, I guess, without worrying about the module dying, since the Energizer is basically a single use and then the module is gone. With the classic damage control, it is not a big issue. And here I have a build with one booster, everything else basically adaptives, and I actually want to do something stupid with this ship, and I will do it another time when it works. But you need at least one battery, so this build, the last build, I wouldn't be using it unless you have a logistic. As for the implants, well, if you're using railguns, then you can use the rail implants like the thermal circulation or the high power coil. With missiles, you have like the warhead charge, tactical missiles, and the third one, which I rarely use. But the tactical missiles are decent, and the warhead charge is decent, both which are going to work really, really well on this ship. And let's actually eat this thing into a laboratory or something. I just want to see I want to see how much I'll get, how much resistance I can get with a
Autopilot engaged.
yellow hardener being
Undocking.
actually used. Since the yellow hardener doesn't really show you the stats until you get hit, so you have to get hit in order to use the hardener. And I will
Docking request
also
accepted.
add another extender. Basically, I plan to fly this ship with a passive tank. Now, obviously, you will be able. So you will be able to passively tank stuff with this ship. You can passive tank PvE
Autopilot engaged.
with the Karura.
Destination reached.
Since it has so much resistance, it's not going to take much damage, and it will be able to easily passively recover the shield. I also love how I start to hiccup at the worst possible moment. Oh my god. Hopefully it will pass. Don't have anything else. Don't have anything to scare myself with. So I just have to hope that it just passes, and I'll try to. I'll try to punch through it. But yeah.
Drive active.
Let's see how this monster works. Now, I mean, I love how this looks. It's an awesome looking ship. Karura is indeed beautiful. You know, the Mimitar, the Mimitar Lancer and this one, they look just pretty. I don't know. The Bane didn't really. The Bane, I guess it looks like a revelation. I guess it has have differences, but the Hubris does look better than the Morse. But the Karura and the Mimitar one, they're just eye candy. They're so nice to look at. This thing looks menacing. Not gonna lie, this thing is a very, very, very hot ship. And of course, I can't use siege. Of course, I can, because why would I be able to use siege on a Dreadnought? Am I right? I love some of the bugs. You know, the bugs in this game annoy me, but at the same time, sometimes they're just so hilarious that I cannot be even mad at them. This is one such example. A Dreadnought, but no siege mode, but a Lancer, but no Doomsday. You cannot make this up. In any case, a fix is on the way, so while I'm being a bit sarcastic and while I'm actually having some fun here, they will fix it, and a bit of patience, you know, as always. I mean, I have a lot of patience, so I am not in a rush anywhere, since the ships will be here and I'll be here as well. Just have to wait for them to arrive, and then we can. Oh my god, you will see some silly. I'll do so many silly things with these ships, because they're ships that need thorough testing, and I'll do it. Now, when it comes to PvE, if you have this ship, if you have railgun skills, you can easily use this thing for PvE with the barreled, with the short-range barrel blasters. They have fantastic tracking, and they also have fantastic DPS. And with the high power coil, this ship will be nasty. It is a Caldari. It is a Phoenix with railguns, and that's epic to be. That's epic by default. So, if you like blasters, you will like this ship. If you have skills for it, you can use this ship quite easily. If you have missiles, you can also use missiles. It will work. If you have implants for the missiles, it will also work. So, I love the fact that some of these ships have a dual weapon system, or should I say, they can use two weapon systems efficiently and effectively. Very similar to how EVE Online, some of your EVE Online ships can do the same thing. So this is kind of opening the path for more Tech 2 ships to be added. And you know what? I am all in for more Tech 2 ships to be added from EVE Online, because honestly, when I saw that they took the exact same name. Actually, if they, I thought to myself, well, if they add Lancers, they'll just call them like Phoenix Lancer, or I thought they'll call it the Revelation Lancer, something like that. I mean, the same way as we have Megaton Striker, Tempest Striker and stuff like that. No, they actually went with the original name on these ships. That is a change. That's a big change. That wasn't before. Before they would just take they would just take the first Dreadnought name and then add Lancer to it, and that would be a new ship. Well, not in this case, which makes me curious about what is the next thing that they'll add. I mean, now we can expect anything. We know Dreadnoughts are definitely Titans are definitely on the line now, since we received the first generation of Doomsday weapons. Obviously, we have Doomsdays, we have super weapons added. Obviously, Titans are not that far off at this moment. Who knows? Maybe the next big patch brings us Titans. It is entirely possible. We got Doomsdays. So, if we got Doomsday, Titan is not that far off from this point on. Of course, I could be wrong. We could get something completely different. And any new ship at this moment, I think, would be nice, since the path that they're taking is to take the Evil Line version of the ship and add it in the game. If they're the same ship, I have absolutely no problem with that. So, very curious to see if they, and how will they implement some of the Tech 2 cruisers. I believe that's going to be quite fun to see. Maybe they'll just rework the heavy assault ones. That's also a possibility. There's so many possibilities. We can all speculate, but who knows what the actual truth in the end will be. But so far, I mean, these ships are awesome, and I was pleasantly surprised, since my friends, and with the leak stuff and all that, when we look at those pictures, we really, I mean, with how the game works, it was very unusual that they would add a Doomsday to be high slot. If they were to add a Doomsday, we all expect that to be a mid slot module, based on the trend that we have seen so far. Having the Doomsday actually in the high slot where it should be is a huge change. That's a massive change, since it also opens up a possibility of the developers taking the utility slots and adding them to more ships in the high slots, which could potentially completely overhaul how everything in the game works. So we may see utility slots return in high slots of the ships, which will definitely change every single build in the game. Every single build will be changed. There's a chance that returns. I've been thinking about that, and with this kind of being a utility high slot on the new Dreadnoughts, right? What will stop them from doing the same thing on all the ships? Nothing is going to stop them. They can easily do that. So utility slots might return, and I would be, I guess, happy, and could also cause some problems down the road for some of my builds, because if they do that, I'll have to rework almost all of my ships, and well, I mean rework. Not rework a lot, since my builds are already based on EVE Online ship builds, so in the end I am not going to have to do much, honestly. I just have to put the right module in the right place, and that would basically be it. Because that's just how I built my ships, and that's just how they work, based on EVE Online builds. And if we have the same module layout as in EVE Online, hey, my builds would still work. Just change the module out, and that would be the solution to that, I guess. In a way. But we will see. We will see what they will do on that topic. There's still a lot of things that can happen. So we will see for sure what will happen. But so far, I'm pretty happy with the Karura. It's a fantastic little boat, and which one of these ships would I get? That's a. I said my. I think I said it before, but I would. I think I'll just wait for the navies. I need more tank. They're tanky, but I need more tank. Can you imagine what I'll build with a navy dreadnought that has like natural high resist on all damage types, on shield armor and armor? Can you imagine what I'll do with it? I'll just build the tankiest, nastiest chunk that the game has ever seen, and guess what? When that happens, I'll return to flying a capital, because super capitals will have absolutely no chance to kill it, and I'll just sit there and laugh. And even even in that case, the energizer damage control would be useless, because it's just so high. So the stats would be so high. It's like perma damage control active basically, which is insane when you think about it. So I'm very excited for the navy dreadnoughts as well, because they will allow me to do something very, very stupid. And I recently, listen, I started to do really stupid things with my builds. And when I say stupid, not cursed, but funny, I started to make ships that are just silly to look at, because they're so ridiculously tanky, or they have something ridiculous to them. And I started to really enjoy making these troll ships. Might actually continue doing that. It's kind of a maybe I need to make a new series. Yeah, maybe I need a new series. Abominations. Oh yes, that's something I need to do. Oh my god, that's a lovely idea. Oh my god, you guys will have something very nice to look forward to, because I'm about to go wild on everything on all the builds. Anyway, that will be it for today with the Karura. Fantastic ship, I love it. It's a very good looking ship, and has the potential to be very, very nasty and very, very tanky. So I'm definitely going to be coming back to this thing once it's fixed. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.